think a lot of people don't understand. They don't put the work in initially to get the results, because it's learning what to say, but then it's also learning how to say it. When you're first start, if you have a script in your hand, the only thing you're thinking about when you're on the phone is what I'm saying. The magic happens when it's so internalized inside you that you no longer have to think what to say. You can focus 100% on what they're saying, because when you learn to hear people, it's not a cold call, it's a warm call, because you're trying to help them. And that's, I think, the shift that people need to make.
What's going on, everybody? It's me, it's Aaron Wittenstein, and I'd like to welcome you to Vulcan7 Roadmap. This is where we teach you how to take an additional 366 additional listings a week. We got somebody here who's been prospecting for a very long time out of Northern Virginia, Mike Putnam. That would be Mike Putnam. So we were talking a little bit in the green room before. By the way, hello, how are you? I should say, how are you?
Amazing. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. So how long have you been in business for?
This April, it'll be 24 years.
24. So you've been it's like a quarter of a decade. Is that right?
I know. I've got to see the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, the good, the bad, and obviously the better.
I think the entire interview here should be like, what has Mike not seen in real estate? And we'll just go from there. So you know what I found extremely intriguing about you is that you have been in business for 24 years. 24 years, that's significant.
Yeah.
How long have you been prospecting for?
For 24 years, as I said. I was very fortunate that very early in my career, I was introduced to Mike Ferry, like 3 weeks in. So I learned early on about the ability to make phone calls, handle objections, and I think really learning what to say. I think, one of the biggest problems you have with a lot of agents that struggle, especially a lot of new agents and intermediary agents, is they never really learn what to say. And then it makes it 10 times harder to go out and actually do the things that you need to do to be a successful real estate agent. Because, in real estate, you can either go out and hunt for business, you can go out and buy it, or obviously you could sit in an open house or in your house or maybe in your bed even and just wait for business. And, obviously each one gives you a different amount of business.
So what I'm hearing here is scripting and the right words help. Is that correct?
It's everything. I mean, if you know what to say, it is so much easier to go out and do it. It's like if you're in a fight and someone else has a gun and you have a toy gun, who's going to win that battle? But when you're equipped with the right weapons, the right skills, the right tools, the strategies, I mean, you actually are able to go out and execute at a level that very few people understand. I mean, it's one of the single most important things is learning what to say, because again, when that magic happens, the magic of doing it becomes fun. People don't look at prospecting as being fun. I remember back in 2016, I mean, I actually averaged over 112 contacts for the year, prospecting 7.1 hours a day, because that's just what the market requires. Even, a year and a half ago, I was averaging again back over 100 contacts a day, because, when there's minimal expireds, minimal for sale by owners, minimal for sale, by owners that are renting, you have to go out and circle prospect outside of talking to your past clients. And if you want to sell real estate in high volume in terms of, 100, 200, 300 transactions a year, you have to make more calls, more contacts, and obviously that gives you more appointments, which obviously gives you more money.
Yes. Okay, we're done right now. We don't need to speak any further. I think you just laid the gauntlet down on us. Okay, so basically you're a prospecting machine, from what it sounds like to me.
I love it. I love the ability to communicate and really influence people. The ability to take someone from I'm not going to do it to 25 or 30 minutes later in a presentation, them signing a contract and being really enthusiastic about the process, because so many agents give up on the first or second time. When people say, I'm going to take it off the market. Okay. And they just hang up, and it's just like, no, you have to go back and ask them more questions. Why do they think that it's a better time, to take it off and wait? What are they getting out of that? And I think when you really learn how to communicate with sellers at the highest level, you can get them to do things that really they want to do. They just are kind of in their head, And a lot of people, they're basing information, on what they hear on the news. I mean, I was making a call today with an appointment, and I mean, they thought that the rates were high. And I was like, I don't know if you know, but literally in December, the rates went from 8% to 6%. So I want you to think about something. If you were to wait, and let's say that literally you waited 6 months with the interest rates pulling down, you probably would get 5 to 7%, which would be really good. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to wait. And I'm like, but wait a second. You also said that you were going to buy a house. So if you take the extra 6, 7, 8% you make on your house and you go buy another house, aren't you giving all of that equity and money to the next seller? So if you make 10% and you give 10%, how much money do you make? Nothing. But if you actually sell your house now, you buy a house now, like a lot of savvy buyers, which it sounds like you are, perfect. Wouldn't you get an extra 7 to 10% of equity in your house by the end of the year versus giving it to the next seller? And when I was able to say that, they were literally able to picture that in their head. And that's where the magic is creating a picture where they literally are able to see what the truth. They're able to see that, right, if you have a choice of giving another person 12%, or you can keep the 12%, what's better?
I got nothing to say. No, that is officially going to be stolen, by the way. Now, okay, because that was really good. That was really. I don't say this lightly because I love objection handling, but that was really good. I'm gonna watch this one over and over again to get that put to memory right there. So because what I'm seeing from you, and this is what I'm a firm believer in as well. It's not what you say; it's how you say it, right? Right. And what's coming out of your mouth right now is the conviction behind what you're saying is believable. I mean, that's really it.
I think, when you're doing objection handling and prospecting, I think the number one skill that you have to learn is to be playfully confident. You see, when you're playfully confident, you can get away with so much more. When I'm saying these things to people, I'm saying it in a very playful way, but in a way that they understand. It's like, honestly, let me ask you something. If I give you a choice in 6 months to give someone $100,000, or I gave you the opportunity to keep the $100,000, I mean, honestly, which would you choose? Like, you say it very playfully and they kind of laugh. Right. Well, you'd keep it, right? Well, that's why people just like you hired me. I'll see you tonight at 5. And it's just, when you're playful, you just get away with so much more. But so many agents, they don't know what to say. So they're like, oh, they're tight. The interest rates went from 8% to 6%, and they lose people because people listen to people, when there's a playfulness. If I'm tight and I'm stuttering and I don't know what to say and I'm not well scripted, they're going to hang up on me.
I mean, because for me, I diffuse humor, you know what I mean? Because it's the easiest way. It sounds like that's what you do is you utilize humor in a way to come off a little bit differently with it. Now you're scripted. So how often are you doing script and role play and and all that type of fun stuff? I mean,
it's always evolving. The thing is I try to take something that I see in the industry and I try to use that. You know what I mean? I was competing last week, with a Redfin agent. And they were going with the Redfin agent, and I got myself in the door, and I said, "Well, let me ask you something. Have you looked at Redfin stock?" And they're like, "No." Well, I don't know if you know, but it's down 90%, and on top of that, they're laying off 15 to 20% of the people that actually work for them. So I want to ask you something. When you give a really good product and what you do works, and you make people more money, does your stock typically go down or does it go up? So the fact that their stock is going down, what do you think that would mean to the price of your home and the equity that you want to pull out of your home? You're good. And when they said that, they understood that. So I was like, although commission is important, wouldn't you also agree that value is equally as important?
I agree.
And that's where the magic happened. They could see that. So then they were out of the picture. But it's just, again, being able to take things that are out there and put it into a way that people can receive it. Because a lot of people don't realize they're saying kind of the same message, but they're not delivering it in a way that people can receive it. You have to kind of dummy it down in something that's quick that people can understand. And that's where a lot of people, after they get off the script, where Mike Ferry's script, it ends, they end because they never evolve. Right. If I don't handle something or something didn't work out in an appointment, I always debrief at the end of every day things that I thought I could have said better, or in an appointment where what could I have said differently that would have changed? Because there's always a moment in an appointment or a call where something either happens or it doesn't. And your question is to figure out, if it didn't happen, what could I have said differently? And that's something that I've worked on every single day for 24 years. I mean, I became obsessed with learning what is the next best question that you can ask, because the next best question is what's going to get you the results that you want. Because again, we have to differentiate ourselves. You know, when you're calling a for sale by owner and expired, you are one of 50 people that are going to call them in the first hour. How are you any different than everybody else?
Okay, so let me. Are you an expired guy? Like, I'm assuming you call everybody. You know what I
I
mean?
call everybody. Yeah.
But like, if you had to pick one, and you're like, this isn't my thing.
I mean, I love expires because again, you know, people, you know, they're taking it off, but they're all doing it for different reasons, and it's finding out that reason and then being able, like a doctor. You know what I mean? I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and he's like, "I don't need you," and I was like, "Well, you know, let me ask you something. When something is wrong in a movie, a crime, no one needs Superman, but yet when Superman shows up and helps him, isn't that better?" And he's like, "Well," and I'm like, he's like, "I don't need you." I'm like, "Well, no one needs me, but tell me something. If I flew into your house, because a crime was committed, you have a house on the market for 120 days, you're in a good area, it's at a good price, and honestly, it didn't sell. It may not seem like a crime to you, but on the other side of someone that sells, it's a crime. So if I could take your property, get you the offer you want, in the time frame that you want, are you telling me that you honestly would reject that offer in the next 2 weeks in hopes of getting the same offer in the spring with more sellers on the market? Would you do that? And he kind of laughed, and he's like, "Well, you sound like you're Superman." And I'm like, "Well, let me show you. I'll see you at 6. Well, I don't have time at 6. You know what? I just looked at my schedule, 7's better. And that was it. But it's just, you know, being playful, you know, putting something in there. Because, you know, when he said that, I thought Superman, and then I played off that a little bit, because again, when you're playfully confident, you know, they understand. Because in that case, I don't need you. I don't need you. You do need me because your house didn't sell.
It's about listen. I mean, it's about listening, right? Because I mean, you've got to actively listen to what people are doing, so that way you can say stuff like that. So
Well, so many people are worried about saying the script instead of listening. You know, one of the things that I learned early in sales is that God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you need to listen twice as much as you talk. You know, if you are asking questions, you are in control. But to be in control and to ask good questions, you have to be an active listener. You have to listen to what they say and then use things that they're saying, you know, right back at them.
Exactly. And it's just that dance that you run, right?
It's just the ability to take what they say and then to use that as the reason why they should hire you.
Yeah, I agree. So let me ask you this. So I know you guys do a lot of transactions. Is that right? Like, you know, you guys run a pretty good ship right now. What did last year look like for you guys?
125 transactions.
That's not too shabby. And what percentage of those? That's pretty darn good.
Well, you know, the thing is last year was interesting in that, you know, there was people that were on my team that, as hard as it was, we had to part ways with, because, you know, I underestimated my team's ability in terms of their skills going into a different market, you know, because, you know, the last 2 years before that, buyers were coming in. You really didn't have to sell a lot. Now, you had to sell the multiple offers, and we had to sell working with agents, but buyers were running to your door and saying, "I want to buy now, I want to buy now." But when the market tightened up, I underestimated my team's ability to be able to make the number of calls that they needed to, and their ability to really sell. So, you know, once I got people out, it was about bringing people in that I didn't have to force to call, because, you know, what I started to realize is, like, I'm begging people to make calls. And the truth is that at this stage of my career, I don't want to have to beg people to make calls. You know, I lead by example. I don't ask anybody on my team to do anything that I don't do 10 times over.
Right.
So I spent the last 6 months really honing in and making sure that my team understood. We did tons of role plays. I had them role playing. You know, when they had a question, I had them record it, and I had them go over and over and over. And, you know, this year, by far, I mean, I say 240, 250. I believe that there's a chance we'll hit 300, because this is the best trained team that I've ever had. I mean, the way they handle objections, the way they prospect, their follow-up. I mean, you know, in this market, you have to talk to more people, make more calls. And 80% of the time, you have to understand that all of your business, 80%, is from your follow-up. Less than 5% of the time are you going to get on the call with someone and they're going to say, "Come out right now." And that's a shift, because now everybody wants to wait. They're waiting because they think the rates are too high. They think that the prices are going to come down. And it's not true. When interest rates pull down, the prices go up. So we need to make sure that we're selling people on the things that are going to cause them to make a decision. Because as real estate agents today, and this is the thing that newer agents and people that are in the middle, they have to understand that you do not sell houses. What we sell is urgency. Because you see, if you're not selling urgency and they say, call me back in 4 weeks, and I get on the phone and I say, you know what, instead of calling you back in 4 weeks, why don't I call you back in 2 weeks with an offer? Wouldn't that be better? And I get in the door, I'm taking your business. So you have to create urgency. You have to give them a reason about why they need to put the home on the market now. And there's always a reason. There's never been a better time to list your property, especially if you're buying something, because you're going to be able to buy something now at a lower price. And as the rates pull down, the prices go up. We're already starting to see that on the market with multiple offers. You're starting to see, more buyers. Loan applications are up 40%. And these are things that agents need to know so that they can convey these to the buyers and sellers to, again, create urgency. Because if you do not create urgency and another agent comes along, they're going to take your business.
Okay, so this is a question that I get a lot about follow-up. Okay, can you repeat the script that because I want to make sure we don't gloss that over when someone says, we're going to wait a month. Can you just repeat that script back that you just did?
Yeah, I have no problem giving you a call back in a month. And let me ask you something. Wouldn't it be better if I was able to call you back with an offer at a price that was acceptable to you, with the terms that are acceptable to you? I mean, honestly, think about that. If I was able to get you an offer in 2 weeks that gave you all of the things you want and allowed you and your family to get into a bigger home, wouldn't that be a lot more valuable to you and your family than if I just called you back in a month? Because think about it. Do you typically get better offers when there's less homes on the market or more homes on the market?
Okay. That's a great line. I mean, I love that line. It's like, why? Let's wait a month. What if I get you an offer in 2 weeks?
Yeah, because the truth is that is more valuable.
It is.
Than calling them back. I mean, I closed on a property yesterday where the lady said, call me back in 6 weeks. And I said, wouldn't it be better if we got an offer in the next 2 weeks? And I called you back with that. And, we listed the property, it was an expired, and we got an offer in 7 days. And, she's closing, as I said yesterday. I mean, the whole transaction from the time I got in to now, it was 28 days. Think about that. I actually closed her faster than she wanted me to call her back.
In the first place.
And that's the fun of real estate, is being able to take people's, again, they're not even objections. They're just throwing stuff out at you and being able to handle that. That's where the beauty is. I mean, to me, selling is like, it literally is one of the funnest things to do, because every person is different. It's like a puzzle, and you get to solve each one call by call. Early on in my career, it just never left me, as I just became obsessed with being able to convert people, being able to ask people better questions, being able to change someone from here and bring them over there. Because again, most people are thinking with their head, and they're not in their heart. When you can get people to feel and remember the reason that they started in the first place, you can sell from that place. But if you just keep them in their head where they're thinking rates, price, they'll give you 1,000 different reasons, but they're focusing in here and they're not back here. People literally forget sometimes the reason why they started. They started because, their kids needed a bigger room. It's like, all right, well, let me ask you something. How does it feel when you come home and your 3 kids are stuck in one room? Yeah. Wouldn't you agree that if you made a small sacrifice, which means putting it on a little sooner, that if you got what you wanted, isn't that better?
See that? I was going to ask you, how have you done this for 24 years?
I love it. I mean, to me, yeah. Talking to people and handling and being able to do those kinds of things with people. I mean, I just love it. I look forward to it every single day.
No, when you said it was like what I picture for you right now, and tell me if I'm wrong, it's like you said, it's like a puzzle. It's like the real estate puzzle with this stuff. And it's like a game for you where you got to get this peg to go in here and this one in here and fit this one in here until it makes this like glorious real estate sphere, if you will. And it's just, because a lot of times we speak to people and prospect is a means to an end. You know what I mean? Like, we want to come in, we want to get in, get out, call it a day. For you enjoy it. And the results are just fantastic, right?
The thing is, to be a high producing agent, you have to fall in love with the process. I can't stress that enough. If you don't fall in love with the process, this business will eat you up. because there's so many different things that go on. It's like, there's a guy on my team, Christian Davis, 28 years old. He's been working for me for 7 years. And last year he said, you know what? I want to sell 100 houses. And I said, you know what? I can get anybody to 100 houses, but you also have to understand, to get to 100 houses, your life is going to be a lot different than it was the last 6 months. I think this month alone, I think he's already taken, 7 listings, he's put 4 under contract, and he's overwhelmed. And he called me last night and I was laughing, and I'm like, do you understand that to sell 100 houses, that's what it feels like every single day? Because everybody wants 50 deals or 100 deals or wants 500,000 or $1 million, until they actually have to understand what it takes to get there. Like, I remember my goal was always 100. And I always envisioned that the first time that I got to 100 deals, that night I would be at a club and my friends, we'd have a table and bottles and we'd be dancing and celebrating. And I'll never forget the first time it happened. It was like September something. And it was like 11 o'clock at night. 3 deals had fallen apart. I was just like in complete breakdown mode. And I remember that we had 3 closings earlier, and that put me at 101 for the year. And I was just laughing because it was the exact opposite of what I always envisioned the day that I hit 100. And that's just what people have to understand, is like, the more deals that you take on, it's not just the deals. You have to become the kind of person that can handle that. Because for most agents, if you jump from 5 active and under contract to 10, just that doubling of the business, it completely throws you off, because you haven't become the kind of person that can consistently handle that kind of business. And that's where a lot of agents, they falter. They don't have people that will hold them accountable. They don't have systems that allow them to understand all the different components of it. And it's so important for new and up-and-coming agents to understand that everybody wants to sell and make a lot of money, but they also have to realize is to do that, you have to become the kind of person that does it. You have to have the habits. It's just like, if I was to ask you, to sell 100 houses, do you typically sleep in or do you typically wake up early? Which one is it?
Wake up early.
Yeah. If you want to sell 100 houses, do you typically prospect for 5-6 hours, or do you typically prospect for 30 minutes?
5 to 6 hours.
Yeah. Are you completely relaxed, or are you probably stressed out?
A little stressed out.
So that people just have to understand that part of the process is just growing into that person. And there's only one way to get it. Like, I wish that I could like implant that in someone, but you have to go through that process. Even if you get to 100 and you say, I want to go to 200, it's the same thing. You're going to break down at some point, because again, you have not become the kind of person that can consistently do that. You don't have the habits. You don't have the ability to handle all the different problems. I mean, I know last year, one time we had like 38 under contract. And like every day there's 5, 6, 7 problems that are going on every day. And you still have to prospect, and I still have to run my team. It's just, that was like a very weird, difficult period, because again, my time had to be so spot on, because I was getting pulled in so many different ways. So, I had to really make sure that, that 8 to 12 I time block where nothing distracted me during that period. Because if I was allowing all those distractions like I did the year before, I wouldn't have hit the numbers that I wanted. So people just have to understand that part of the process is you're going to be stressed. You're probably going to be frustrated. You're not going to understand. And you have to do it anyways. Because, like Kobe Bryant always said something that I always remembered. He's like, if you win today, what do you have to do the next day? You got to do it over. If you lose, what do you have to do the next day? You got to do it over. So if you look at it day by day, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, because the next day, regardless of the result, you have to do it again. So I think, one of the most important things for agents is the ability to start at zero, the ability to let go, good or bad, of what happened yesterday, and to start afresh every single day. Because when you can do that, you can build.
Everybody, by the way, if you're watching this, you need to watch this one like 3 or 4 times. If you guys, no, that's Mike. This is very, very good stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you're on a level. You're very welcome. You're on a level here that where greatness becomes something. You know what I mean? And I'm not just telling you that just to be a nice guy, because I won't say that otherwise. This is amazing stuff. So, all right. So let's say you got a brand new agent walks across your desk, okay, or not, comes across your office, knocks on the door. Mike, I hear you're a beast. I hear you're amazing. What is the one piece of advice that you can give Johnny New Agent?
I would give him the script that he needs to follow, because, it's so funny. There's a new guy that started for me yesterday, And, I gave him the script that he should use. And I'm looking over and I hear him saying something that is not on my script. And I'm like, I went over to him, I'm like, can I ask you a question? Did I give you the wrong script? Can I see this for a second? And so I pull up, the script and I start reading it. And I'm like, I don't think that was on there. And it's just, for newer agents, the ability to let go of whatever someone taught you and actually find someone that's doing something at a high level and just do it. See, that's the thing, is that agents don't have to recreate the wheel. They have to take something that someone else is doing that work and actually just follow it. And then the second thing would be, as a new agent, if you really want to be successful, if someone came to me, which any agent that's new comes to me, they have to make 100 contacts a day. If you start for me today, you're going to make 100 contacts a day. You're going to call, expire, for sale, owner, but you're going to spend a lot of your time circle prospecting, because circle prospecting is giving you massive amounts of calls where you're saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And if you do that for 7 hours a day, you're embedding the basic stuff for selling houses in a very condensed period of time. So the people that work for me, within 4 months, they sound like they've been doing it for 4 years. Because if you say the same thing over and over and over 100 times a day, like, no matter what you do, you get better. You do anything 100 times, you get better. And I think a lot of people don't understand is they don't put the work in initially to get the results. You know what I mean? Because it's learning what to say, but then it's also learning how to say it, because a lot of people don't realize it's not just what you say. Like, when you're first start, if you have a script in your hand, the only thing you're thinking about when you're on the phone is what I'm saying. The second part of it is where you get good enough where, like, you actually are just able to say it. You don't have to physically read it anymore. The third part is where you actually can listen to what they're saying, and then you're able to repeat it back. You see, there's different levels as you start to do it. Is that when you first take any script, you literally are reading it just like this. But if you do it well enough, then you just remember it. But you're still focusing on what you say. The magic happens when it's so internalized inside you that you no longer have to think what to say. You can focus 100% on what they're saying. Because if you can focus on what they're saying more than what you're saying, that's where you're able to serve people. That's what I always say. It's like, I'm going to write a sales book one day, and it's going to be called From Selling to Serving, the Ultimate Sales Hack. Because when you learn to hear people, it's not a cold call, it's a warm call, because you're trying to help them. And that's, I think, the shift that people need to make.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to leave it right there. That was the perfect end right there. I'm not even gonna, no more questions. That was perfect. That was absolutely cold call, the warm call. I love that. All right, my friend. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, an agent in I don't know, St. Louis, Missouri says, I need somebody in Northern Virginia. How does that person get in touch with you?
They can call my personal cell phone, which is 703-980-0585. That's 703-980-0585. Or they can send me an email at Mike@Putnam, that's Putnam Group, GROUP, cells, SELLS.com.
Okay. All right. I got to get one final word. Give me a final word. I wasn't going to do it because of the other line, but give me a final word.
I just hope that everyone understands that. I mean, the opportunity that you all have is second to none. I don't know of any other field where you can make the amount of money and serve the amount of people simply by learning what to say and then going out and actually doing. I mean, like, sometimes when I look at the process, it's like, it almost seems not real that we have the opportunity to change people's lives, make unlimited money, and we get to give our family things in a lifestyle that very few people ever would understand. I mean, it's what to say, what to do.
Beautiful. All right, my friend. Thank you very much. Guys, thank Mike. Watch this one a couple of times and have an amazing day. Take care, everybody.